So why don't we get started? We have a pretty full agenda tonight, and we're actually fortunate that we have a few things that are two things that weren't on our original agenda, which is exciting, but means we have a lot to try to move through. So I'm just one announcement to start, and then we'll turn it over to Captain Sweeney, which is that with regard to our annual tree sale, this is something we've done for some years, and we've gotten some questions recently about what we're doing this year. And having thought about it a bit, in light of the public health considerations, both right now and where we may be at a month from now, we've decided to cancel the sale this year. We're not going to be doing any, a traditional retail sale on that first Saturday in Christmas, and that's out of a belief that just in terms of protecting, people who might patronize the sale, our volunteer base that makes it happen, some of whom probably won't be able to participate under current conditions, and then questions sort of around what the market might be anyway. But what we're going to do in lieu of that is use some of the funds that we've raised over the years, including from the sale, to purchase wreaths and donate them to the businesses and organizations that have supported us in the past by buying wreaths and trees at the sale. So that's something we can do to try to give back this year and hopefully help businesses and organizations that some of whom are facing hard times be a little bit more festive. And obviously we will be back in full force next year. So I just wanted to announce that. So with that, Captain Sweeney, the floor is yours.
Hey, good evening, everyone. How's it going? I just want to hope everyone's well out there. And I know, well, if everyone doesn't know out there, about a month and a half ago now, District 4 was supposed to be done in August, but with COVID, we usually have a crime watch group of the year. And I'm not sure if many people realize out there that, the Blackstone Franklin Association was nominated for that through the mayor's office and commissioner's office from District 4. And, we presented that to the group, like I said, about 6 weeks ago, I think it was. And, on behalf of District 4 and for everyone else out there, I just want to, thank David, Jonathan, Matt, Tony. Mark showed up that day. We had it in the park in a couple of years to see the huge difference that's taken place at the park from when I first got to District 4. It's just kind of remarkable, and kind of the friendship, the partnership we have with the group. I appreciate it, and I know the officers in District 4 do. And we also had a crime fighter of the year, and Jonathan ended up. Oh, sorry, I hit the button there. Jonathan Alves, great friend, huge supporter of District 4, and we were happy to have Jonathan win that. So I appreciate it, and it was just an honor for you guys to take that and all the support you give to me and the officers down there, kind of seeing what we go through. You've come into the station a couple times, donated food to the officers, and it's just greatly appreciated, and it goes a long way. So I just wanted to get that out there before I kind of jumped into some other things. But thanks again. And
hey, we appreciate it. Round of applause for the entire Blackstone Franklin Square Neighborhood Association. I just want to say, I think this past year especially, I think it's been, with all the challenges that we've all been facing, pandemic related and otherwise, it's been pretty incredible that we've, as a group, been able to maintain such a close partnership with D4, with you, Captain Sweeney, keeping our communication open, taking information from different community members in the neighborhood, sharing it with you, trying to promote positive collaboration and experiences with everybody in the neighborhood that improve quality of life, that improve our squares, that improve openness and communication with residents. So I think it's incredible to be acknowledged for this award as a group and definitely as an individual. But we really appreciate your partnership. We appreciate your friendship. And we thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope to continue to build on this. So I think everybody deserves an awesome round of applause for this, because this is really a group effort. So thanks, everybody.
And as far as a district concerned, year to date, coming up towards the end of the year, crime's down 7%. Up around your neighborhood, the parks look great. They have been, some issues. I was in there early morning about 10 days ago, and some graffiti was in there, which I had never seen. And I got to give a shout out to the Parks Department. I got on the phone and legit, I turned around and the guy was pulling in the lot with a can of paint that they must have for graffiti issues, painted the green benches and took care of some graffiti that was on one of the electrical boxes. So within legit 20 minutes, you know, I think I was texting with you, Jonathan. I'm like, yeah, I couldn't believe I showed him the pictures that we had the graffiti. And then I turn around and I sent him another picture. I go, the guy's here already. So it was great work do the city with that to get that taken care of quickly before people really got out there. I sent that up to, you know, we have a detective that, you know, over the years has done work with graffiti. No nexus to anything, you know, a lot of times it's a college student. It was just some numbers, no gang affiliations, nothing racial. It was just some numbers, you know, and the word Morse. I think that was like no issues there. And we haven't seen it on the district since, and he has never seen or heard of that. So I think it's just a random thing going through the park, unfortunately, that happened overnight. You know, big issue David just mentioned is, especially coming up to this time of year, is package thefts, car breaks. You know, coming into the holidays, the Amazon trucks, UPS is around. While I was on Rutland Square today, I talked to an Amazon driver. He said yesterday, the day before, we got a lot of complaints. I think they had 20 packages stolen up around those two streets. So it was good, you know, that we were out there today and able to catch a guy. You know, people have issues. He wasn't arrested because of some medical issues. And, you know, we try to send him in the right direction as far as with EMS and with outreach, and hopefully, you know, that can help him in that situation. The cars, we have to, and I know you always get the word out for me, we just have to have people not leaving anything in their cars, whether it's just something, a gym bag, clothes. You know, but unfortunately, people are leaving computers in there, whether they're running into a store, parking, going to work, jumping on the train. And if we can just get that out again, it helps us, you know, because people are leaving bikes in cars, and they're a hot commodity, bikes right now. We're having a lot of bike thefts in back alleys, on people's stoops that they're leaving out overnight. If we can just kind of get the word out on that, it would help us. And we've had some success getting them back. So we need that reported. We have a cadet at the station that sends them all out to the offices. So people have been very thankful. Like, and I always say, and I'll get into it in a few minutes, we had a bank robbery the other day down at 567 Boylston. But, you know, when a bank robbery call comes in, you know, all the officers are heading down there, hey, bank robbery as fast as we can. There's many more dollars stolen each year in bikes than in bank robberies. You know, how expensive bikes are now. You can have a bike for $8,000. Someone goes in to a bank and they're getting $1,000. And look how many, that's the first bank robbery we've had in a while in the district. And we've probably had hundreds of bikes stolen. So it just shows you how valuable they are. You know, we look into where are they going, you know, and that's a tough thing. You know, like last year, some were heading over to Cambridge and being stripped down. This year, we're not seeing exactly where they're going, but we do work on those. And it's great when someone comes into the station to pick up their lost bike that they never thought they'd see again. And it's few and far between because there's so many, but we've gotten a solid amount back this year. So if people can just keep that in mind as far as, you know, trying to lock their stuff up a little better, especially the packages, neighbors helping someone taking them in for them, anything like that helps us out. You know, a quick thing about that bank robbery, started on Boylston Street, and just the importance of getting 911 calls, or someone actually called District 1 downtown and they were forwarded over to us. Within minutes, a gentleman was seen with a large amount of cash at Waltham and Washington Street, you know, up your part of town by the parks there. And we're saying, it couldn't be the same guy. He's putting a jacket into a bag, into a trash bag. So we had officers obviously on Boylston Street. We made our way up there. And then a detail officer right outside Albany and East Newton sees a guy walking down the street, you know, with a bag and trash bag description that was given out from the Waltham and Wash. He starts talking to him. They open up the trash bag, and it was the suspect. Ton of cash in the bag, and the dye pack actually exploded. There was a chase, but great arrest, like good eyes by an officer on a detail up on right on Albany Street. So never would have thought the gentleman would make it that far, and he did. And like to get the cash back, and you know, I think it's been posted around, but this was a serial bank robber, a career criminal, and you know, it was a great grab by the officers. And a couple other things just on violent crime in the area. You know, citywide, we're seeing, you know, higher numbers this year with firearm violence. It's unfortunate. And on the district, it's also, we've had our issues in prior years. Last year, I think we had 5 incidents of shots fired or people shot, and this year we're at 14. The most recent was actually up around the O'Day Playground area, around the Villa Victoria. Officers responded up there and ended up arresting a 16-year-old with a loaded firearm in his waistband. So the unfortunate thing about that was the caliber of gun was different than the shell casings we found on the ground. So good detective work. We got some pictures out of a car that was seen in the area, people on mopeds, and about a week later, one of the younger officers on district observed that car in the same general area. And when he went to pull it over, a gentleman ran from the car. Officers gave chase, and nearby in a trash barrel found a firearm in the trash barrel. So, you know, it was good eyes by this young kid, good detective work. And it just seems the ballistics hasn't come back to yet, but it's a good chance that that's going to be the match for the original shots fired call up there. And I know there's, since I got here, there's been issues with cameras. We've worked through City Hall trying to get those in certain areas. And I received a 311 the other day from a gentleman who seen a strange box up on a telephone pole. So I looked into it, and cameras are starting, they're not live yet, but several cameras are starting to be put up in the area. And we're looking at upwards of 42 cameras, I think, that will assist us in those spots where we kind of miss people leaving the scene of violent crime or just help with traffic or anything like that. So it seems like that wish from, 5-10 years ago might finally be coming true. If anyone has any questions, be happy to take them. But, you know, like I said, I appreciate everyone's help. The 911 calls are instrumental. Even for minor things, it helps me set deployment for these package thefts, you know, where I know some stuff that's going on. And, you know, like I said, anyone has any issues, they can reach out to me down at District 4, anyone on the call. But like I said, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, we do as well. And I think I probably summarized the sentiment of the group that you guys are out there, your feet on the ground, your feet on the streets, you're engaging with all different types of individuals, and you're doing a great job. And we want to continue to support you in any way that we can. So thanks for giving us that info and the updates, and thanks for being a part of this conversation and making yourself available to the community.
Definitely. And I don't mean to jump off. I'll stay for a couple of questions if anyone has them, but I do have another issue to take care of.
We understand.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do, Captain Sweeney.
Priorities.
Jamie Golden, yeah, and Jamie Golden from Bar 3 has a class starting in a few minutes, and I really want to give her the floor for a few minutes if there are no questions for Captain Sweeney. So questions for Captain Sweeney, otherwise we move on to Jamie.
I think you're free to go.
Cool. Appreciate
Jamie.
it, folks. Good to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks, Captain Sweeney.
Thanks.
Jamie?
Oh, I think a class started. Sorry, David.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, yes, I can.
I have my team on in the background. So we have our team meeting going. So I'm sorry that you can probably hear an echo. but thanks for having us, and thanks for hosting us for these past few months in the park. It's been really great. Our members have been excited, and I think overall it's been pretty well received. We've met a lot of new faces as well. I will flip you around and let my team see you guys too, or you see my team. Figure this out on my phone. There's my team. Guys, you want to say hi to Blackstone? So double zooming, this is a first. But yeah, we're excited to have this going, and we're really appreciative. So if you have questions, shoot them our way. A teaser for all of you that do want to try classes, we have a class package sale coming up next week. So if you want to pop in and join us, it's the cheapest rate we've ever offered. So stay tuned. It's going to be 25% off our 10 packs. And we appreciate all you are doing to help us stay alive.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And we so appreciate everything you're doing in the parks. It's wonderful to see all the classes. I might just buy one of those packs. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. You know where to find
Jamie.
me.
Oh, we do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
So David, so it is my honor and my pleasure to welcome my personal friend, my children's pediatrician of 9 years, who I'm very proud to say has just opened a practice in the South End. And I'd like to introduce you to Robyn Riseberg, Dr. Robyn Riseberg, who is here to just introduce Boston Community Pediatrics. Over to you, Robyn.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me here tonight. It's nice to see some friendly faces as well. I'm really excited to tell you about what we're doing. Boston Community Pediatrics actually opened yesterday on Albany Street in the South End. We had an exciting, very socially distanced ribbon cutting with the news and some press, and it was exciting. And so we are the first nonprofit pediatric private practice in Boston, and one of the first in the country. And basically, the concept is really, in general, most families with private insurance often go to small private practices that are just pediatrics, where everyone sort of, you know, they call, they pick up the phone, they tell them to come in if anything's going on, and for the most part, patients with Mass Health get their care at larger institutions like health centers and hospitals, and which are obviously amazing places. But it's just a little bit of a different feel walking into a small office. And so my goal is to provide really outstanding pediatric care, primarily to patients who have Mass Health. And to be able to give very integrated services. So we're going to have integrated mental health, integrated care navigation, and in like a 2,400 square foot office all under one roof, where we're all kind of talking together and really kind of putting the patient at the forefront of the model and seeing what is best for the patient, what does the patient want, and how do they want to approach it. And I think integrated mental health is obviously something that everyone is trying, especially now, but really trying to figure out how to best work it in different places. And so our goal is to have on-site mental health services where, and the way that I look at it is, if you are trying to take care of people, you really have to look at all parts of their health, which is their mental health, their physical health, and then the social determinants that make up their health. And so that to me is what healthcare is. And so we'll be doing that all on site. We are also going to be helping with COVID testing, and we'll be having, helping out with the kind of the city's efforts and everyone else's efforts to have daily COVID testing for people who need it. That would not have to be necessarily patients of the practice, given the pandemic that we're in. We're also working with some local childcare centers to help keep them open by increasing testing with another organization called Neighborhood Villages. And so we'll be available to do symptomatic testing every day from 4 to 5. So, so that's kind of, I don't want to take up too much time and wanted to leave time for questions, but that's what we're doing. We're really excited to kind of engage with the community, be a part of the community, and really, see what the needs of the community are and be able to kind of help provide those needs.
And your office is at the corner of Albany and Wareham, is that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great. So you're even in our little corner of the world.
Yeah.
And how can people reach out to you?
We have a website, which is just bostoncommunitypediatrics.org, and all of the information about if someone wanted to become a patient, or there's an email there if people just have questions or want more information. We're happy to hear from anyone, and we'll be glad to get back to people.
Great.
Robyn, what did you say about COVID testing? Have you already started COVID testing?
We're going to be starting that this week. And so if people need to get tested, we are available, so people can call, and obviously they need to register, but we'll be doing daily testing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wishing you every success, Dr. Riseberg. I will be making an appointment very, very soon for my kids. So thank you so much for coming to spend time with us today and introducing yourself. We are so very excited to come and visit you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So our next item is Vanessa Calderon-Rosado from EBA, which is the Community Development Corporation that runs the Villa Victoria housing community, is going to be telling us about what's going on at 85 West Newton Street, which people may be aware is the site or former site of the Villa Victoria Art Center. And over the past couple of years, in the course of doing what was intended to be some renovation, and I think I have this right, they discovered that there were very serious structural deficiencies within the building that really couldn't be remedied within any kind of reasonable budget or framework that would provide them with the kind of facility they needed. So they are proceeding to demolish that location and ultimately replace it. So Vanessa is going to tell us what's going on with that. So Vanessa.
Thank you so much, David and Jonathan, for inviting me tonight. So great to see a lot of familiar faces as well, and to be in the neighborhood virtually. So it's great to see everyone. I want to acknowledge that also in this meeting, Mayra Negron-Roche, EBA's COO, is joining us. She is here as well for any questions, and she has been working with me and the rest of the EBA team diligently in providing, the best possible options and solutions for the outcome for the building. As David so well said, we have been struggling with the building now for about 3 years, when we started to do exterior renovations and found structural deficiencies. In this long journey, the building was shut down and then reopened partially, and then fully shut down over a year ago by the city because of the risk that it posed to keep it open. So throughout that, we had been working with landmarks, and finally this past August, Landmarks provided a certificate of exemption, which is now allowing us to be able to remove the building to build something new. But let me tell you, before I tell you that exciting part, let me tell you a little bit about what's going to happen with the demolition. We have already, as of last week, submitted all the paperwork and documentation required by ISD to apply for the demolition permit. So we are expecting that permit to come to be issued at any time. We are, even if it's issued tomorrow, we probably won't start demolition until after Thanksgiving. So if it's issued this week or early next week, the earliest date that we will start would be on November 30th. We won't know that yet, and as soon as we know exactly when we have the permit and the start date, we will let you know. We will send letters to the abutters. We will send letters to the residents of our properties and the abutters. We will send emails to the neighborhood association, so you will know exactly when the start date will be once we know. So what would happen? Once we start, the phase one or the active phase of demolition will last about a week. And that's the time in which all the elements of the building will come down. Then after that first week, in which West Newton Street will be closed to traffic to be able to accommodate the equipment and the trucks and everything that is needed to be able to do work of this construction project of this magnitude, the street will reopen, and then the passive phase of demolition, the second phase, will start, and that phase will last 4 or 5 months. And that phase is just to remove all the debris within the site and ensure that the site is secured. So altogether, it will take about 5 months to remove the building. There would be information on the fences with an email that I can give you now as well, which is 85 West Newton, 85 West Newton at ebaboston.org, in which people can ask for, if you have questions. Also in EBA's, in our webpage, we have already a page with frequently asked questions, so you can email us or call us. Email would probably be the fastest way to get information, since even though our offices are open partially, we're still primarily working remotely. So it would be a good way to post your questions and stay in touch with us throughout the process. But the piece that we're the most, this is just part of a culmination of a long process, but also the beginning of a new process that we find very exciting. What we hope to build in the location of the building is a new art center, a center that will allow us not only to have our arts programming there and community space for the entire South End, but also to bring all of the EBA's offices and property management offices in one space, so we can have more efficiency in terms of our programs and offices, but also free some other spaces for other uses in the future for EBA. So we're excited this building. We hope we're in the process now of selecting a design team and also doing selecting a capital campaign consultant to help us raise all the funds that we would need for the building. And even though we don't have a design team yet, we are excited because we think and feel that this building will have, elements of the old building that we want to preserve, and then also have a new modern contemporary facility that will be more transparent, that will activate not only the streetscape on West Newton, but also the Olay playground. So there will be activity and people will be able to see through inside the building outside and outside the building into inside what's happening. So we're very excited about it. Once we have our design team engaged, which we hope to have at the beginning of 2021, and we start thinking about what the building will look like, we hope to come back to talk to you, and hopefully by then we can come together physically in a space so people can see the concept of the new building, the ideas, and people can weigh in and get excited with us about that process. So that's what's happening. Again, once we have the definitive start date of the removal of the building, we will reach out to you to let you know, so everyone knows. But I'll stop here and see if there are any questions about this process.
Can you, Vanessa, can you speak to kind of how you're going to maintain the site sort of during that interim period of time where the demolition is done, the debris is removed, but the new building has not yet been begun?
Yes, the site will be secured by fencing that is, appropriate for making sure that it won't be a site in which people can get into or, to play or to do whatever. So the site will be properly secured until construction start. Someone had asked me, so when do you think that will start? We believe that it will take us a good year to develop not only the design of the building, but go through all the approval processes in the city, including landmarks, going through the community process, and also raising funds for the building. So we believe that we probably would start construction at the earliest in 2022, because we believe it's going to take us a full year to really go through this process at minimum.
Thanks.
I think we
Oh,
have
I see a question. Will along with security continue to monitor the area? Yes, we will continue. Our contract with Longwood will continue, so they will monitor the area the same way they monitor all of our properties. This is part of our properties. Cameras, we have been working on revamping our cameras, so cameras will be in place, including on West Newton Street on the other side of this building, the property that used to be BHA's, that is now Eva's property that we are renovating. So there will be cameras definitely on site during the process. And once the building is built, there will be also cameras there. We don't know exactly where, but there will be cameras there as well. Other questions? Let me look at the chat, see if there's anything.
I have one, Vanessa. This is
Yeah.
Jonathan. Thanks again for joining, and for Maida as well for participating. And thanks for your communication over the last couple of years on this project. I know it's been challenging on many different levels, and there's been many different sensitivities involved, and it's been interesting to be a part of the process and come to the community meetings and hear the different perspectives and what you were trying to do that best serves the community. And it sounds like you're over some of the more difficult obstacles. So congratulations to you on that. And you're entering the next phase to be able to serve the community with the building and with the services that come within it. And I'm just curious, maybe some folks are wondering, some of the services that you provide there and some of the activities, how are you currently handling those today? Where are those happening? Of course, the pandemic probably is altering some of that, but how are you handling that today? And then I would ask, for folks that are learning more about EBA and what you do in the neighborhood, because I really only started learning about it the last couple of years, how can we get involved or learn more if we'd like to? That might just be a bigger question for the group.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. In terms of before the pandemic, we had been, especially our arts programs had been sort of quote unquote homeless or orphan without a home. So we had been kind of doing some creative stuff in which we were working with other spaces in and around the South End to figure out some performance spaces and gallery spaces, but that proved to be pretty challenging for a number of different reasons. And now with the pandemic, we obviously have gone virtual like everyone else. And in fact, we have very successful summer programming. Our annual Festival de Danzas, instead of being at the plaza, was virtual. You can go check it out in our website. There's a link. And the festival have received over close to 60,000 views between all of our media channels. So it's been very successful. Same with Tito Puente Latin Music Series, which I know many of you participate every year at O'Day Playground. We did that virtually, and we will have the last concert of this year live streamed virtually on December 17th. You can access that through our our social media channels and our website. So there's a way to, that we're trying to continue to preserve, promote Latino arts and Latino artists. In terms of, and we will continue to do that until the building is back up and built, whether it's virtual or working with partners to try to do some performances and gallery exhibits throughout the neighborhood or the city. In terms of how to get involved, in addition to definitely join us in these virtual events, IVA is a nonprofit organization, and we will engage into a large carpet art campaign. We don't have the full price tag yet, but we would welcome your support, your time, talent, and treasure, and how to support us with the development of and construction of this building. So more to come. Once we know more about it, we would help. We would love your help, and any connections that you can make for us would be extremely appreciated. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I think we might have one other question in the chat. I can read it. Is the Villa Victoria Center on West Newton comprised of both the main church and the adjacent building next to the O'Dea Park? If so, are both being demolished?
Yes, both of those is one structure, is one building. The what we call the parish house and the main church are part of the same structure, and all of that structure will be removed, will come down, starting hopefully right after Thanksgiving. We will tell you the exact date, but yes.
Awesome. Any other questions for Vanessa?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can.
Dorothy. Hi, Dorothy.
So what services will you offer in the new building?
Mm-hmm. The new building will have pretty much the same uses and purposes of the old building, except that we will add additional office spaces in the building, because we will be able to add more square footage. And the old building, is beautiful and wonderful as it was a build that was repurposed. So there were some areas that were not very useful in terms of space. So the purpose of the building will be to continue to be an arts and community space. So we will continue to have performances there, art exhibits, community gatherings, community meetings. So it will continue to serve that purpose. And then we'll house offices for all of our staff at IVA. So it will also be, it will increase the foot traffic during the day in and around the park and the street. So I think it will activate that space and that area of the street a bit more, especially during the day, with staff coming in and out. So I think that's also a good benefit. There will be no parking issues because there's no parking that can be built there. So staff will continue to park where they park right now, or will continue to use public transit or bikes, whatever mode of transportation staff has currently. prior to the pandemic and after will continue. So it will not increase vehicular traffic on the street, just foot traffic.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Dorothy.
Anyone else?
I think we're good. I think thank you, Vanessa and Myra for your participation. And I think I probably speak for most of the folks on the phone that once the design plans are finalized, we'd love you to come back and we'd love to see them. I think
Yes.
we're here to see the project get going and get the foot traffic going and the arts going and the community center going and see this project come to fruition. It's been a journey for you folks. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Okay.
Thanks, Vanessa. Our next guest is Manny Lopes, who's the CEO of the East Boston Community Health Center. And as people may know, in July, the South End Community Health Center, familiar to most of us, merged with East Boston and became essentially a unit of the East Boston Community Health Center. So Manny Lopes has been introducing himself around the neighborhood to meet residents and whatnot. And in that context, I had a chance to speak with him a few weeks ago. And what struck me is just the sheer size of this organization and how many patients it serves. 20,000 in the South End, 110,000 overall. And that's just extraordinary. So we're lucky to have Manny here tonight to talk about what this means. So Manny.
Hey, David, this is Jeffrey Sanchez, and I'd like to give him a wind up.
The floor is yours.
Thanks so much for starting us out. Just because I just wanted to give a little context to the South End Community Health Center. I'm Jeffrey Sanchez. I'm a former state rep. I represented Jamaica Plain and Mission Hill, but before that, I acted as a community liaison for Mayor Menino in the South End during the days when Blackstone was young and Washington Gateway was just an idea, and to see everything that all of you has done is a testament to the power of people getting together, and how you all are continuing that work is something that's really encouraging to be a part of with the East Boston Neighborhood Health Center and this merger with the South End Community Health Center. As many of you already know, the South End Community Health Center, it's a comprehensive healthcare organization for all the residents of South End and surrounding communities. We're committed to providing that highest quality, coordinated healthcare that's culturally and linguistically sensitive to every patient, regardless of their ability to pay. The South End Community Health Center was founded in 1969 by 2 South End residents who were committed to that mission and focusing on primary care. This organization has been at the forefront of primary care since the beginning, since 1969. And the organization provides specialty services and wellness programming. And after nearly 50 years, they've been recognized for their outstanding holistic care, regardless of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and in many occasions, and in many senses, have been a part of the movement for equality here in the city of Boston and throughout the Commonwealth, and frankly throughout the nation. Because when we were tackling the issue of same-sex marriage in Massachusetts, the leaders of this organization were a part of that discussion with me in the State House and the representatives of this district as well. So here in this year, a few weeks ago, East Boston merged with South End, and now they're one organization. And the staff of East Boston and the South End are unified in making sure that these centers are providing comprehensive health care. Manny Lopes is a seasoned leader in the area. He is a product of the Boston Public Schools. He grew up not only in the city, but also he grew up in this organization. He went and did good things in the private sector for a while, and then came back to this organization to grow it. Right now, the East Boston Neighborhood Health Center is probably the largest community health center in the country, and they're doing incredible things. And in many cases, you won't know about it. You won't hear about, or you won't read about it, because they're not a big, gigantic, academic medical center. but the majority of the people that are served here have a voice, and they're critical safety net for a lot of poor people here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And Manny is a seasoned leader in making sure that this ship not only continues to do the great work, but also so that they can stay innovative and relevant in the change relative to healthcare reform on a day-to-day basis. So without further ado, I'll leave it to our president, Manny Lopes, who's here to give you more details of this exciting merger for the entire community. Thank you so much, David, for allowing us to participate with you today and allowing me to engage with you personally to get this on the calendar.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you, David, for the opportunity, and thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to answer any questions you may have, but also provide a quick overview of the merger and some of our programs and some of the things that we've been doing, not only together, but also just the great work of South End Health Center. So as Jeffrey mentioned, I'm a born and raised in East Boston, Boston public school kid, spent quite a bit of time in South End with my dad also, so know the neighborhood very well. And when we were approached by the South End Community Health Center, who has been struggling for many, many years financially, which is the story across the state as well as across the country for many community health centers who, you know, the average community health center in the state has a negative 1% margin. So our business is very much on the edge, and the South End was really struggling for many, many years as a small health center. So they set out to find a partner just to help them scale their operations, but of course, protect and preserve all the great work that they've been doing, particularly the mission to serve all, regardless of the ability to pay. And they approached us, and we felt that it was a great opportunity, just personally, again, knowing a lot about the South End. We're 50 years old, the South End Health Center is 51 years old. So quite frankly, we jumped at the opportunity to try to keep it within the community health center family. And we were excited that the board of directors, who are made up of consumers, this is what makes community health centers unique, that we do not have a corporate board. These are patients and users of the health centers that are my boss, and they're responsible for hiring and firing the CEO. So when they selected us, we were excited. It's been a journey. It's taken us a couple of years to get to this point. When we finally merged, you know, quite a bit of regulatory hurdles to overcome and to get through, but we finally did it. And now it's, you know, it's an opportunity for us to really begin to learn from each other and learn all the great work that's been happening in the South End, all of the great programs and the best practices, and bring those to East Boston as well as vice versa. So a little bit more on the stats. We are large, but we still like to consider ourselves, you know, again, a home-based organization, whether it's in East Boston or the South End. So we have 1,400 employees. As Jeffrey said, we're one of the largest health centers in the country. We've invested significantly in terms of integrating care, behavioral health care. Our electronic health record is a very seasoned one. Many people may not know that, you know, Epic Care, which is one of the largest electronic health records in the country, East Boston, we implemented that back in 1998. So early on, we understood and appreciated the value of bringing data in terms of improving the quality of care that we're delivering, but as we all hear about, trying to also help bring down the cost of care. We have a large interpreting services department made up of 25 dedicated individuals who help make sure that the services that we provide at the health center is in the appropriate language, and as Jeffrey mentioned, and it's culturally sensitive as well. So, you know, we're excited. Again, it's a journey. We're integrating the cultures. It's a lot of work. We're faced with the pandemic as we're trying to do this work, but we're just so proud of the dedicated team at the South End as well as East Boston. We have 2 new providers coming on board, so I'm happy to announce Dr. Reamer, who is a South End resident, will be a full-time pediatrician at the South End. She's already started there in the last couple of weeks. She's transferring from East Boston and she was excited about the opportunity to work in our own neighborhood. And then we have a full-time Spanish-speaking provider, pediatrician as well, who'll be starting next month. Other awards and accolades, if you don't mind me humbly bragging, we've been named top places to work by Boston Globe. Next week will be our 6th time. So if you pick up the Boston Globe, you'll see us ranked again with some of the largest firms in the state. And now for the first time, Forbes magazine has named us one of the top employers in the US. So we're excited about that because we feel when we treat our staff well, they help us provide the best possible care to our patients. We've also been named by Massachusetts Health Quality Partners as one of the top pediatric practices in the state, and that's private, nonprofit, profit, when you consider all of them. So we're excited about all the work. You know, we're hoping to bring more services into the community. We have a nationally recognized elderly program called PACE, All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly, that helps with transportation, meals. It's all inclusive. And that's one of the programs, just one of the many programs we're hoping to introduce into the South End in the next few months and the upcoming years. We look forward to answering any questions and developing a partnership and a relationship with all of you.
Manny, could you give a little bit more on everything that you've done with the city of Austin relative to COVID testing? Because the mayor has really engaged the South End Community Health Center, East Boston Community Health Center on COVID testing.
Yeah, sure, happy to do that. So the city had selected us at the beginning of the pandemic to be the main contractor for COVID testing across the city. So whether it's in Brighton, South Boston, we either partner with our fellow community health centers or we provide the service directly. So we have the citywide contract, and today we do up to 5,000 tests a week in East Boston, within the South End at the Haas Center, as well as what the city calls pop-up locations. So whenever you hear the mayor talking about these pop-up testing locations, that's us. It's been really busy, and I've already got some feedback today that I know the lines are long in many places, and you even heard that some organizations are stopped doing testing because of the increased demand. We continue to do testing, and we just tonight, hopefully, our online registration portal will be available because I know the wait times on the phone has been long given the increased demand. I think Thanksgiving, everyone's getting ready for Thanksgiving and the holidays, but we also know that we're entering into a second surge here that we're really concerned about.
Can I ask how do people access the testing that had been located outside the Blackstone school initially and then was in Franklin Square? Where is that now, and how do people, if they want to avail themselves of that?
That's actually right in the Blackstone school. So thank you, David, for asking that question.
Oh, it's inside there now?
Yeah, it's inside now. We've gone inside because of the weather. So it's called the Haas Center. And you can reach us by calling 617-568-4500 or visiting our website at ebnhc.org. And hopefully
also,
be online. Yeah.
Is there any cost to that?
I'm sorry.
No, zero cost for the individual. We do have to bill insurance. So if you have coverage, we're required to do so. But if you do not have health insurance, like any one of our services, it's provided for free.
Great, thanks.
And just to add on, just one more point too, as you mentioned a moment ago, David, Manny we have been engaging other neighborhood organizations throughout the South End to talk about the merger, and also again the opportunities for strategic partnerships, alliances, collaborations, so that we can provide more services and dedicated to your missions. Today this past week, we've had good conversations with Bud Larrabee over at the Washington Gateway Main Street to see how we can talk about testing with the business association. So we're having conversations, and we want to be able to have collaborative discussions with us, with all of you, on how the South End Community Health Center, East Boston Community Health Center can continue to make the difference. And if not, and also make sure that we do more in the future as well. The capacity of this organization is a lot more dramatic. It is a full integrated organization, fully integrated with strong relationship, with strong partners. If you take a look on the website, from Tufts Floating Hospital to the Brigham to Children's, we are fully integrated, and we want to make sure that the South End community gets the best care possible. So thank you so much, David, and thank you for everyone that's here today for allowing us the opportunity. If there's any questions, you contact David, and David can contact me, and I'll make sure that I'm the conduit to get to you as quickly as possible.
Anyone have any questions for Manny now? Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Manny.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah, great to see some friends and faces.
Exactly.
Take care.
Thanks. So we're obviously running a little bit behind here, so we'll try to be quick. But I'd like to have Dan Mueller from the MBTA speak at least very briefly tonight. He reached out to us. The MBTA has an initiative they're calling Forging Ahead, which is their attempt to reconcile the pressures they're under from revenue losses, drastically reduced ridership levels, and yet still wanting to preserve services, especially for people who rely the most on transit around the communities, some of whom I think are probably here in the South End. So I'd just like to give Dan 5 minutes or so to kind of lay out what the MBTA is doing, take any questions. This is a conversation that, you know, deserves a lot more time, and we can take it up again, but I'd just like to at least get it on people's radar screen. So Dan.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, David. That was a great overview. And I'm just gonna, so I have a brief presentation. I'll just go through it really quickly. If I can, let's see, I'll just share my, or can I share my screen? It looks like I might not be able to.
We can make that happen. We should be able to make that happen, Bonnie.
Okay, cool. If not, no worries as well. Just kind of a brief overview. So, you know, in 2019, the MBTA served about 1.2 million trips every weekday. Now we're down to about 330,000. So obviously there's a huge decrease in ridership, and we've experienced a corresponding decrease in revenue from lost fares. So, oh, perfect. I'm just gonna share my screen real quick. So as you can see here, ridership plummeted, and we're still not back to where we were. Even the kind of the most resilient ridership, which we've seen on the bus, is only about 45% of what it used to be. So Forging Ahead is our process of realigning our resources to better serve the people who are still riding the commuter, or are still riding the T. In order to do this, we're evaluating all of our internal spending to reduce expenditures. We're assessing our capital program, reallocating a little bit of our capital money over to the operating budget. And we're also defining a core of essential transit services that we're going to prioritize. This also means that services that aren't considered essential may see some service changes. This slide is just to illustrate kind of where the savings are going to be coming from. Fortunately, most service is preserved, even with the service changes. So 82% of weekday trips are already on essential services. So most people are riding essential services without knowing it, or even if they don't know it. And then if these changes do take effect, even after the changes go into place, 85% of bus weekly service hours will still be preserved. That's 70% of rapid transit, 65% of commuter rail, and then we're proposing to temporarily suspend ferry service. And about 78.5% of households in the MBTA service area will still have service within a half mile, compared to about 82% previously. So zooming in on the South End for a little bit, the Route 43 bus is looking at proposed elimination, but all other routes are considered essential. and we'll only see minor changes, probably in frequency or span. I was just going to go through a couple kind of overview of the changes. We're looking at stopping all service after 9 p.m. on the commuter rail, stopping weekend service, decreasing weekday peak service, and then closing 6 out of 141 stops. As I mentioned, we're proposing to temporarily suspend ferry service. For rapid transit, we're looking at some frequency and span changes. So decreasing 20% across all lines in terms of frequency and stopping service after midnight instead of 1 a.m. currently. But then we're also proposing to end the E line at Brigham Circle instead of Heath Street. And on the bus, proposing to decrease frequency on essential routes by 5% on average and on non-essential routes by 20% on average. Then consolidate 14 routes, shorten 5 and eliminate 25. Then in terms of the ride, about 1.1% of pre-COVID ride trips will be shifted into a higher pricing bracket because the pricing is based off of fixed routes. So if a fixed route like a bus changes, it sometimes shifts ride, a small amount of ride service into a different price bracket. And then so just to kind of give an overview of what we're looking to in the next couple of months. Most service changes will go into effect in the spring or summer of 2020 or 2021. And then we'll add back services in an iterative way in response to changes in ridership. So we'll be constantly looking at ridership patterns and ridership numbers, and we'll add back service as we see ridership increase. Then that brings us to why Terry and I are here. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that Terry Chan, another MBTA community liaison, is joining me tonight. So we're seeking feedback on these proposals, and we have a hopefully robust public engagement strategy that we're in the middle of. All of what I'm saying tonight can be found on the website, mbta.com/forgingahead. We have a comment form to provide feedback. We also have public meetings. The public meeting list is on the website. We're kind of in the thick of the public meetings now, but feel free to attend any and all public meetings. They're region specific, but that doesn't mean that you can't attend one that isn't necessarily your region. And then we also have a public engagement email, which I'll throw into the chat. And we have a series of office hours, which I believe Terry put the links in the chat, and feel free to sign up for those. They'll be in Spanish, English, and Chinese for folks who weren't able to make it to the meetings, who want more one-on-one conversational settings.
Dan,
I'm sorry.
Can you go back to the South End specific slide? And I 2 questions. One, can you just identify for people who don't know what Route 43 is?
Yeah, so I can actually, I can go to, we have a interactive map on the website, and we can actually zoom right in on Route 43 if it loads.
Okay, and here's my other question. It has to do with the Silver Line. Did I understand your chart correctly to indicate that the ridership on the Silver Line remains even more depressed than, you know, the subways generally and other things?
I believe that's the case. We can go back to that slide real quick and double check, but I believe, so this is Route 43 there, and we can go back and double check on the Silver Line.
And what changes, if any, are you contemplating for the Silver Line? I'm just asking because, of course, that goes right down Washington Street and is perhaps the...
For sure. So for the Silver Line, we are, we've defined that to be an essential service. So it might see some frequency changes, probably about 5% on average decrease in frequency, and also span. I believe we're proposing to terminate service at midnight, kind of in line with the bus routes.
But relative to some other services, it will be relatively more insulated from change. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
David, this is Vanessa. I have a couple of questions. It seems that, these changes will have adverse impact in the South End, given that the South End doesn't have, direct access to the trains. And it's mostly, Route 43 or the Silver Line. And I wonder, especially the elimination of Route 43 could be really concerning, particularly for low-income residents of Villa Victoria that I know use that bus route to get to downtown, in addition to the Silver Line. So I wonder what kind of data was used to really make this decision of eliminating Route 43.
I'll have to get back to you on the specifics of that particular route. But in general, I know that we are, or kind of when we define our essential services are those services that both are high transit ridership, so that generally have high ridership both before and during the pandemic, and also that serve a transit critical population. So populations that have high percentages of elderly folks, people of color, people with disabilities, low to no car households. So we are trying to look at this from an equity standpoint, and that was definitely taken into account when we did our analysis on the Route 43. But I'll have to get back to you on the specifics of.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Route 43, that goes directly from downtown, from the Boston Common and Tremont, it goes all the way Tremont Street, cutting through the South End into the southward corridor. So I think it would have an adverse impact for South End residents, particularly low-income residents of the South End, like in Villa Victoria, Castle Square, Tent City. So I definitely, I would like to get more information. Thank you for presenting this today, but we will be presenting public comments about this elimination because I think it's quite concerning. And also would like to hear more about the Silver Line because that also will have an adverse impact in the overall South End community.
For sure. And we definitely really appreciate those comments.
If you could put in the chat the information, that Forging Ahead website, that would be great, Daniel, so we can access that. Thank you.
For sure. I'll put that in the chat right now. And
Thanks.
I actually just looked it up. Our kind of analysis with the Route 43 is that we determined that it was redundant and that the alternatives would be the Orange Line, Silver Line 4, and Silver Line 5. So I understand if you disagree with that analysis, but that is what our team came up with, and we would love to hear your thoughts about whether that's realistic or not.
Daniel, is November 19th the next immediate opportunity to offer public testimony on this?
So we actually have a meeting tomorrow, which is so the 18th, and then the 19th is a system-wide meeting. So it might be kind of it doesn't have the same regional focus, but if tomorrow works better for you all, that's a perfectly acceptable way to offer testimony as well. You can attend any of the public meetings, although 2 of them are considered system-wide and the rest of them are region-specific.
Okay. Yeah, I see those on the website. I realize we're not here to beat you up. I think you're sharing information as a part of your job responsibility. I must echo, though, as from a personal perspective, that it far often seems like these cuts in this thought process is always very short-sighted when it comes to the MBTA. We went through this exercise last year with the fare increases, the 6% across the board, disproportionately affecting low-income families all the time. I think the MBTA is constantly not being creative when it comes to how you can manage funds. So I think I would echo a lot of what Vanessa said, and I would encourage anybody on the line that's interested in this, and because there is going to be a return to life at some point, we'll need transportation, and I fear that if we continue to cut, returning to that normal will be very difficult. We've seen a lot of that with other things in the city of Boston when things are taken away. If you look at Washington, D.C., they're not issuing any cuts to their programs despite ridership drops. They're anticipating a return. They're also focusing on the essential workers that are using these services. I think we went through the same exercise years ago when late night service was cut. There were 15,000 riders that relied on that weekend service. Restaurant workers, frontline service employees. It didn't even affect me directly, but it affected a lot of people that we interact with, and that was their only means to get home. So they were totally discounted. I think in this country, we often find ourselves trying to pick one or the other and not looking at this as a public service. It's not a money-making operation. It never can be, just like the post office and many other things. So I'd like you to kind of take that feedback, and I'd like to encourage other people on this call that value transportation, that understand that when there's good transportation in communities, it benefits everybody to participate on these meetings. So don't take this as I'm coming at you or we're coming at you kind of thing, but definitely take the feedback because it's a serious thing for many of us on the phone.
No, of course, that's exactly why we're here, to get your feedback. So we really appreciate that comment. I've written it down, and it will be included in all of our public comment testimony.
Daniel, how soon would the bus 43 route be eliminated?
These would go into effect in the late spring. So May to June, I would say.
So we have time. We have time to voice our concerns and potentially reverse that decision. Thank you very much.
For sure. And just one last comment on the timeline. There is time, but the public comment window is relatively short. It wraps up on December 4th in ahead of the FMCB meeting on December 7th. So I would encourage you all to check out the website, submit your comments on the online form there, and if you wish to also attend a public meeting and give testimony there.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you giving us the heads up. I think most of us were quite oblivious of this. So your attendance today was just so vital and important to our neighborhood, and we cannot thank you enough for bringing this to our attention. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dan. I think we're gonna, for the rest of the meeting, we're gonna call an audible here and modify our agenda a little bit because we are coming up toward 90 minutes and we need to give people their evenings back. But we would like to have Kim introduce herself. So Kim is our new South End Bay Village Office of Neighborhood Services liaison. She was appointed by the mayor, a week or two ago to replace our former liaison and friend Faiza, who's been promoted to a citywide role at ONS. So congratulations to her and welcome to you, Kim. So if you just introduce yourself, and then maybe we could just have a few minutes of conversation about some of the issues in the neighborhood, and then pick that up maybe in December.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim. I'm the new liaison for the South End and Bay Village. I graduated from Suffolk University in 2017, and I'm new to working in public service. I just started 3 weeks ago.
Welcome.
You all.
You're joining a great neighborhood.
I know, I'm excited. Everyone I've met so far is very nice and very hopeful.
For better or worse.
So far, right? You haven't met us apparently. And you put your contact info into the chat?
Yeah, I did make a mistake. I wrote Gmail instead of boston.gov, which I just got set up today. So I'll put it in there again just so everyone has it. But
okay.
I don't have a city cell phone yet. I'm still working on that, but I will let everyone know once I do have that number.
Okay.
So I just put my email in there. So if you have any questions on anything, feel free.
Does anyone want to ask a question or?
Kim, we have a Christmas tree in Blackstone. We noticed the city has given us a Christmas tree, which is wonderful. We had one last year. I wonder if you know what the city's plans are for, is the trolley tour canceled this year? Would you know?
I know this, all I know is the city is not supporting public events right now, I think just due to the pandemic, obviously. But like more than happy to do trees and the lighting.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just no big events.
Yeah, it seems like a safe inference that we're not going to be having the trolley tour this year, but it would be helpful to get details
Well, we got a tree.
Last year was the first year that the tree was located in Blackstone Square, having previously been over on Tremont Street in front of the Boston Center for the Arts, I believe, in that large area. And it was really great, actually. The trolley tour, we had a whole event, and that coincided the same day with our tree sale. So it really worked out great. It was very synergistic, and we hope to recreate that again next year, maybe even do better.
And Kim, we have 2 squares that we are equally proud of. So if it's not too greedy one day, in the near future, we would love a tree in Franklin Square and Blackstone Square. I hate to be greedy, but I just wanted to introduce myself and say, I love Franklin Square as much as Blackstone, and it would be so awesome for the city to give us 2 trees.
That would be cool. So one thing maybe, so we were going to have a whole conversation about issues, but obviously that would be an hour or 2 in itself, and so let's sidebar that and do that next time. And I'm going to propose, and I think we can make this happen, that we can have a meeting in December, which we don't ordinarily have. We meet every other month, except we skip one in the summer. But I think there's a lot going on, including some things that I'll just leave off the table for now, lest they become an entire discussion, but we could profitably discuss a month from now. But Tony, do you want to let's just talk about the squares for a second, just to kind of orient you and just and kind of like some of the issues there. And one of the things we were going to talk about had we had more time was sort of the ongoing question of how sort of balancing the people uses and the dog uses in both Blackstone and Franklin squares. And I mean, they're both wonderful and important, and they both generate a lot of value and interest among people. And most of the times they coexist happily, or at least relatively without conflict. But there are challenges at times too. And so that's one of the issues we kind of constantly navigate as a neighborhood group and around this corner of the neighborhood. So that's one of the issues that goes on in the squares. Another issue that Captain Sweeney alluded to it earlier, that we really saw last year, and it's really been a dramatic change this year, was that there was a very marked increase in terms of the number of individuals who were using drugs or sort of sleeping overnight and engaging in that sort of conduct and in Blackstone and Franklin squares beginning last year as part of a larger apparent shift in the neighborhood in terms of where that kind of conditions was existing previously, having been more confined more at Mass and Cass and parts of Mass Ave, et cetera. And we saw a significant widening of that into our part of the neighborhood. And that's still the case on a lot of streets, but thanks to the efforts of D4 and just having a presence in the parks, a very constant presence, particularly last fall and into the spring, but even continuing now, it's just been an amazing change in terms of the atmosphere there, and in both squares. And you know, I think both of them are in a place that's better than they've ever been since I've lived in this part of the neighborhood. And Franklin Square in particular is dramatically changed. So just wanted to acknowledge that. Captain Sweeney's not here right now, but that's you know, entirely, or almost entirely his work and his officers. And it's, you know, a real bright spot. I think there's a lot of, you know, frustration and challenges around addiction, homelessness, et cetera, and in all parts of the neighborhood, including ours, but that's been a real positive transformation. And then David, just to put a bow on it, I just wanted to say, and the
the last theme that we work on repetitively in our squares is the health of the trees. I just want to make sure that everyone in the neighborhood remembers that those glorious elms in Franklin Square are 270 years old, and they are undernourished, and they are not the best of health. And we lost, how many have we lost so far?
Four, I think.
Four trees so far. And Kim, we love our trees so much that when the city had to remove them, we found some amazing carpentry experts and arborists, and Austin Veyers is the one that we're working with closely. And what he was able to do is, even though the trees were badly infected with Dutch elm disease, he was able to quarantine the wood, and I would really encourage this neighborhood to buy his pieces. It's 270-year-old wood. David Stone has just bought the most magnificent piece of Franklin Square elm. It's one way we can at least feel less pain about losing our 270-year-old elms. We do want to make a serious investment in the trees that remain in Franklin, but it is a very expensive and very onerous process to get the kind of nutrients into the soil that would potentially save them. So if anybody is interested in buying some magnificent pieces from our 4 elms that we have lost so far, please contact our neighborhood association, and we will get you in touch with the awesome Austin, who is a Northeastern University student and just incredible and has made some magnificent pieces. Maybe you'd want to buy them for Christmas presents and donate them to people, or give them to people who it would mean a lot to in the neighborhood. So I don't ever want to finish a Squares conversation without explaining that we love our trees in Franklin and we cherish our grass in Blackstone. There's different pH levels in the 2 soils. So one of them is conducive to grass because the trees aren't as mature. Unfortunately in Franklin, fortunately and unfortunately, the trees in Franklin make the grass pretty dismal, because the pH level is conducive to trees and not grass in Franklin. So you've got different, they're just different, what do you call it? Different gifts from both squares in the South End. And I have finished my pitch for trees. Thank you, David.
Tony, we have a question if you have the contact info for where people can reach out. We can paste that.
Matt, can we put Austin's email address into the chat if anybody wants to buy any of the pieces? We'll also post a few photos on our Blackstone. If you follow us on Instagram, we often post some of the creations he's made out of our trees. So please just send us a message. We will get you the contacts. Matt, do you have his number?
Yeah, Steve, if you email us, if we can't find it before we leave tonight, if you email us at BFSNA, did I get that right, at blackstonefranklin.org, we'll get that to you.
And he does amazing things with resin. So he has pieces where he combines the tree with resin. It's beautiful. If you just want straight wood, he's got gorgeous pieces, or he's got some pretty creative stuff as well. So
the other thing I just want to
thank you.
Just building on what Tony said, another thing that we're grateful for and we've been it's been very helpful is, especially over the last few years, we've built a pretty good, very good, I should say, working relationship with the Parks Department. And they are very good about, doing the basic maintenance in the squares, but also very receptive to creative ideas and for creating uses and activating the spaces. And we're all about that. So we're constantly trying to solicit or come up with ideas for fun, creative, exciting things to do and groups to do in there. And other people, of course, are doing the same thing, like Jamie, who was on earlier from Barre 3 and doing classes. But we're all, obviously we don't control the parks, of course, or the squares, but we're all about trying to make things positive happen there. And if we can ever be helpful, we always try to be for anybody who wants to do anything there. Just want to put that out there. Do we have any other questions or comments before we adjourn for the night? And as I say, obviously there's a million other things we could talk about, but let's sidebar most of them for December. But does anybody else have something they'd like to add now?
If anyone does have any questions, just please feel free to email me. So yeah, I put my email in the chat. So if anyone has any questions or anything they need until the next meeting, please let me know.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kim. Anyone else?
It's good to see you guys. Hello. That's all I got.
Corey.
Hey, Corey.
Corey,
Anyone
do you
else?
have anything you want to share?
No, it's good to see you guys again.
Good to see you too.
Likewise. Anyone else want to say anything before we sign off? All right. I think that's a wrap. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Thanks, David.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
next month.